Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiple Careers podcast. This is episode number 13, and in today's episode, I want to answer the question of how do I find my purpose? So, you might be in a situation where you feel like your life either has no meaning or you just feel a lack of purpose. You don't know what to do with your life and where you're headed next. You just feel kind of empty and blah, and you're looking for your passion or your purpose in the hopes that that will then inform you of what you need to do next in your life, what decisions you need to do next with your personal life, with your work, with your career, and so on. But no matter how hard you try to find that big purpose, you just can't find it. You feel like you just can't find the answer to that. And I think that this is a question that many people are asking themselves. What is actually my purpose in life? Why am I here? What am I doing at all here? And the thing is that many people try and find that singular purpose for their entire life too early on in life. So I do agree that on your journey through your different careers and jobs, you should constantly be looking for meaning. You should be looking for the things that are fulfilling to you, that are meaningful to you. And I think once you find bits, even small bits of answers to that can be very, very rewarding and very, very motivating. But the thing is that it's a journey, it's a process. You cannot expect to find out the meaning in the beginning, the meaning of life or the purpose of your life in the very beginning when you're just in your early 20s or even 30s or even in your 40s. I mean, this big insight about what your biggest purpose in life is oftentimes only comes very late in life. And I think for most people, even when they're maybe in their 70s or even 80s, and it's something that you experience and that you understand in hindsight about your life, rather than finding it out in the beginning of your life and projecting it into the future. I mean, that would be too easy, right? That would be too easy if at 18 when you or 17 when you come out of school, when you graduate high school, and you immediately know, okay, this is my purpose. My purpose is to save wildlife animals. Let's just say my purpose is to save pandas from extinction. From extinction. And that very rarely happens. And even when that happens, when someone identifies their life purpose that early on, what often happens is that they might get to a point where they're disillusioned because they're at the time where they kind of decided on their purpose. They were still so young, they lacked experience, they didn't have a lot of insight, and they just decided, okay, this is my purpose, this is something that I will do for the rest of my life. But then when they go through the experience and they see the reality of the world and they get to understand themselves better, that only then is when they realize that, okay, actually this is not really my purpose. But because they decided for that early on, they kind of don't want to admit to themselves that actually I was wrong, things have changed, and I don't think that is my purpose any longer. So anyway, what I want to say is that don't even try to identify a singular purpose for your entire life at the beginning of your life. Because not only is that, I would say, nearly impossible, but it's also not necessary. You don't need to identify a singular purpose or even a singular passion for your entire life. That's also another big challenge for many people with the question of passion. That's not the main topic of this video, but I just want to throw it in very quickly because it's a very common question that people ask themselves. What is my passion? I want to find out what my passion is so that I can follow it and be happy. That's also another thing. The thing is that most people don't have one singular passion. They are passionate about many different things in many areas of life to a different degree that they also express in different ways as a hobby, as part of their work and so on. And it's very similar with your purpose. In fact, there is not one purpose. There is not the purpose, your purpose, at least not yet. But what you can try and figure out is, and what will be very useful to you, is to identify various purposes that you might have in your life. And these will appear and you will realize them at different points in your life. So for example, perhaps when you're in your early 20s and let's just say you're working in banking, you're working in accounting and finance and banking, and your purpose at that time is that you want to become the best at what you do. You want to be highly skilled, a master in accounting, and you want to achieve that by getting experience working in the bank and climbing up the corporate ladder. So that's a good enough purpose to have for that time frame. Let's say until you're in your end 20s or so. And after that purpose has served you and it has that purpose has led you to growing, acquiring skills and experience and becoming a better person, after that purpose has served you, then you can go on and look for your next purpose. So this is a recent insight that I had actually just a few weeks ago in my own life, because I was also at certain points in my life asking myself about what is actually my purpose in life and so on, and I also couldn't find it yet. So what I realized, what I discovered was that I think that every person has several purposes in life, or you could say mini purposes for to understand it better. So you could have a lot of mini purposes that and you might have one mini purpose for, let's say, 5 years, and then another one for 2 years, and so on. And only in hindsight, like later on in your life, you will look back on all these different purposes and you will be able to connect the dots. And this is something that I remember Steve Jobs once saying at one of the commencement speeches that he made. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of that we are only able to connect the dots in hindsight. So looking forward, everything maybe doesn't make as much sense. It looks kind of disconnected, but after we've been through a substantial portion of our life, let's say every decade, and then we look back, that is when we can actually make sense of the dots. You can kind of start making sense of why I made this decision, why I did this, and how everything led up to this point. So just to share one of my own experiences, for example, I shared in one of my YouTube videos on my main channel that last year I had a freelance job which required me to be able to speak Indonesian language, which I do, be able to manage a YouTube channel and social media, have experience in production, in film production, and though that's a combination of skills that is maybe quite rare, and it felt like a big coincidence that someone was looking for someone with exactly that profile. And in addition to that, they also wanted someone with project management experience, and I also had that from my time working in the bank. So at that point, when I got that job and looked at all my past experiences, everything kind of made sense. It kind of made sense that all the things that I did in the past kind of led up to this one big, great opportunity that I got then, which was a freelance job, which only required around 5 to 7 hours per week of my time, but that paid me almost as much as a full-time job. So that's another story that will maybe take a bit more time to tell, but what I want to say in essence is that sometimes looking forward, things don't really make sense to you, but later on, in hindsight, you'll be able to make sense of your life, of your work, of your career, and connect the dots. And you'll realize that many things that now currently don't seem useful actually in the future turn out to be useful for a bigger purpose. So now let's get back to talking about to finding that purpose. So how do you go about that? If you don't find your one big purpose, so what do you look for then? So you look for the next purpose that you can identify, and you have to identify a purpose that is meaningful to you. And I talked about this in my last podcast episode, and I'll link it up here if you want to check that out. So you have to identify that purpose and just work towards that. But in the process, you got to keep reviewing so you make sure that you're still on track, that purpose is still valid, or if it's already obsolete, if it doesn't apply anymore and you have to replace it through something else. So at this point, you might ask me, then what's the difference between a goal and a purpose? It kind of sounds the same, right? And yeah, actually, goal and purpose, these two terms are very, very close connected. A purpose, you might say, is a subset of goals. So what does a goal mean? A goal or a target simply means that this is where you want to go. This is the point that you want to hit, and you work towards. It's something that you want to work towards. And you can have a goal on many different levels. I mean, even just me talking to the camera right now and making sure that I maintain sufficient eye contact with you, that could be a goal, but that's such a small goal, right? So your daily life consists of many goals. For example, one of my other goals I have that I want to finish this recording by 4:30 p.m. so that I can make it in time to cook some dinner and then maybe later on at night watch TV. So those are all goals, but goals are all nested. Those mini goals, smaller goals are nested within bigger goals, and so on. But then you come to a point where you hit a goal that actually has some meaning, that is not just a means to an end, but that is an end in itself. And for me, for example, one of my purposes during these few years is to build a business around my multiple careers channel. And I know that will not be my life purpose. My life purpose will not be my multiple careers channel or even multiple careers business, right? Because I know that there are a lot of other things that I just need to do in this lifetime. But this is one big chunk of it. That's one big thing that I want to do. But it's not just a goal for me. It's not something that I want to do in order to achieve something else, but it's an end. It's a purpose in and of itself. And it provides me enough meaning to keep working on it on a daily basis. And based on that purpose, I derive all the other goals, such as setting up a schedule to record my YouTube videos, podcast episodes, and so on. Yeah, so in summary, again, how to find my purpose. How do you find your purpose if you feel like your life doesn't have any meaning? And the answer is don't look for that one big singular purpose for your entire life, because in your lifetime you can have several purposes and you can identify them only at certain points in your life. You cannot know about all of your purposes in advance. So you have to try and identify a purpose and then do all that you can to meet that purpose, and have the confidence that will eventually lead up to a bigger purpose that you will only find out about later on in your life after you went through the series of experiences. So I know this might feel a bit philosophical, a bit theoretical, but I really hope that this could kind of change your mindset when thinking about purpose, and I would really love to know what you think. So please share with me in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again in the next one.